Welcome to the Matt Wilkie podcast. Do I have any issues with the guys from the gay community in the Philippines? I know this is going to follow on from the last video, audio. Reality is, I don't care about most people in the sense that as long as nobody's bothering or harming anybody else, I really don't care what people are doing. It's not being anti or pro, it's quite simply, I just see people as people. I don't question what they are, who they are, what they're doing, etc. Because it's not important. You know, I know some people feel the obsession with saying, right, I need to tell you that I'm this or that. And one of my friends did that when he quit drinking because he was with the Alcohol Anonymous gang. But he'd actually been homeless for some time because of the extent of his drinking. So for him, it's sort of, I think it's part of the 10 steps or whatever they call it, where he's actually very open in saying, you know, I used to be an alcoholic, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I've got no issue with somebody that's sorted themselves out. I mean, it's a nice enough guy. Worked with him for a bit. And I think the whole point is, if people straighten themselves out and are given a second chance to do it, what's wrong with it? I remember my father saying about a couple of people at McDonald's, strangely enough in Wales. Not strangely enough, they're from Wales. But the fact was they were both going to do the same thing. He'd met two people that had been homeless and got jobs at McDonald's, and were both become newborn Christians, and we're both off to Africa to spread the word. Completely different places. You know, one was in Cardiff and one was somewhere else. I can't remember where the other place was. But it was just so strange that their sort of paths were on the same track without them actually either knowing each other or actually being in touch with anybody else but my father that was actually connected to them. So it's not as if somebody else had put them on that path. They had simply both decided to do the same thing, and both had come from difficult circumstances and changed their entire way. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm quite happy for people just to be people. I'm not really fussed. I don't have this hang up that some people do about, oh, these people are this or that. I don't care. You know, it's like, I don't care where people come from. You know, I used to do Bloomsbury in Birmingham, which is predominantly Somalian in many parts of it. Most of the people are quite alright. You just get the odd one. It's a bit like most of the problems we face in the world today, is everything's focused on a specific thing to generalise it as the whole thing. When the reality is, a lot of it's obscured for political reasons. I found most of them were alright, but I also say most of them didn't work. I remember talking to the one woman who was like saying about how much money they were giving her, etc. But in a way as if like she couldn't believe they're doing it. It was a little bit strange. But like I said, people are people. I remember working up at Millennium Point a few years back, and the security guys used to get my lunch for me because I was looking after the site. I was one of the engineers on the site. So what I used to do is do all the maintenance and what have you on the building. But what also happened was I was only there for a year, but originally I'd only gone for 1 month. But the guys that worked there full time, they'd been there over 4 years then. So this is going back to 2004. They had never had their lunch picked up by the guys that are security. In the same way, the cleaners didn't really mix with the security guys. But I generally talk to everybody. The big hang-ups that people often have is the assumption that there's a barrier there. But the barrier is often created from nothing. The security were predominantly from Pakistani origins. Cleaners were Jamaican origins. Engineers were all British, Saxon whites. So there's like hang-ups between different people. But if you just look past it and just communicate with each one of them, instantly that barrier's gone. And that's what I'm talking about. People get hung up on stuff that simply does not matter. People are people underneath. People are people. They all have the same emotions, abilities, thoughts in their own way, in their own unique way, but we're all flesh and blood at the end of the day. Thanks for listening.